to be a candidate for this position. And I'm going to go according to the how they're listed on the ballot. So first I'm going to ask Terri Dalla Riva to speak. Try your mic.
Oh boy.
There it is.
It's official now. We've started. Hello, my name is Terri Dalla Riva, and I would like to extend my thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Thank you to the City of Edwardsville for providing this venue. And thirdly, I'd like to thank the stakeholders of our District 7 community, of which I'm proud to be a part. I have been a parent in the school district for over the last 20 years. I think we can all agree that the active involvement of our community, our parents, and our students is the key to universal success that extends even beyond our great schools. I seek the position as a school board member in order to provide a voice for our District 7 community, to communicate and address our problems, to confront the adverse financial climate and the budget deficits that we face, and in conjunction with that, the academic challenges of a technologically advanced classroom. Classroom sizes are larger than in previous years. We have old textbooks, but an ever-changing world. And finally, in time for an important election, we are getting long overdue technology upgrades that should have been implemented years ago. Infrastructure, however, is not enough. We know that there are studies that prove emerging technology as a positive impact on academic learning are very important to us. And as we have failed to keep pace with technology and anticipate curriculum changes, we have seen no planning for the projected budget deficits of 2015 and 2016 and the 2017 and 2018 school year. Our emergency fund, the $9 million working cash fund that we borrowed from our taxpayers in 2014, will soon be depleted. And we haven't even been presented with a plan. We need new leadership, new ideas, and a great need to come together as a community to create and put into practice the innovative solutions that address these problems. We can no longer rely upon the past to provide for our future.
Greg Roosevelt, if you'll speak next, please.
Good evening, and thank you to the League for this event, and thank you for those in attendance. Appreciate it. I come tonight after considerable service with the Edwardsville School District Board. I feel I'm qualified by my education and my commitment to public education. I'm a product of public education at the secondary and college level. I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Illinois in Business Administration and a Juris Doctorate degree from the university. My wife and I, Brenda, live in Glen Carbon. We have 3 children who did graduate from Edwardsville High School. When moving here 20-some years ago, I joined the Citizens Advisory Council, got involved there in the various referendum efforts, contributed considerable time to those efforts, and eventually became president. I then ran for and have been re-elected to the Board of Education, where I've served as its president, vice president, chair of the Finance Committee, and chair of the Policy Committee. When this vacancy arose last summer, I stepped up. I felt that I would, by my training and experience, would fulfill those obligations and come in immediately and play a crucial role to sustain a quality district. This is a preeminent district. We do succeed in this district, and it's noted by Money Magazine, Business Insider, and Reader's Digest as this is one of the best places in the country to raise your family. The school district is an important part of that. We have plans to deal with what are a very difficult financial situation. Illinois, as I talked to the Board of Education in my interview, is dead last in its commitment to funding as a percentage of the cost of public education. For a Board of Education, this has meant that we've had to take critical, difficult decisions to move this district forward and secure for us decent class size, high technology implementation, useful, real educational experiences for our children across the board. And I'll talk more about it as we go through the evening. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Paul Pitts.
Good evening. My name is Paul Pitts, and I'm running for re-election to the Edwardsville School Board. I've been a member of the Edwardsville community for over 20 years, and I welcome the opportunity to continue to serving the students, the citizens, the parents, and the teachers of District 7. My years on the board has given me the background, the knowledge, and the experience to continue to make the progress that has occurred over the recent years as a school board member. And I welcome the opportunity to discuss the future of District 7 with my opponents and my colleagues on the bench, at the podium. And I welcome this opportunity to interact with those of you in the audience. Thank you for coming out tonight, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this opportunity for us to discuss the future and our vision for District 7 as we move out into the future.
The next candidate is Vince Ojeda.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us out tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak about what I believe our school district needs. My name is Vince Ojeda, obviously, and I've been in the school district with 5 kids now for about 16 years. Our oldest is graduating from college at the end of this year. We have 2 that are graduating from Edwardsville High School at the end of this year. I've got a 5th grader and a 2nd grader, and we really love this district. This district has been very good for our kids and for our education in general. In my career, I'm the CEO of a privately held healthcare company. We started about 4 years ago and have had some pretty good success growing and doing some really great things for patients all over the country. In that time as CEO and also as chairman of our board, I've had an opportunity to be involved in financial discussions and financial issues on a daily basis. And what I found when I started looking into the finances of District 7 is that we're $128 million in debt. And that $128 million in debt is not going away fast enough. Not only are we in dire straits financially, we refinanced a bond last year for $9 million, more interest at $5 million, and we're kicking the can down the road. This board needs new leadership. We're going to have some new challenges. If there are going to be cuts that have to be made to programs, I want someone on the board like me with kids in the district and with a vested interest in what's happening on a day-to-day basis. We have great teachers, we have a great district, we have beautiful schools. Let's keep it that way, and let's be fiscally responsible about it. Thank you.
The next candidate is Monica Laurent.
Good evening. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Thanks to everyone who is here this evening and to all of those watching on TV. I have been married to my husband David for 23 years. We have lived in this district for 22 of those years, and we have 4 children who have all received an outstanding education from District 7 schools. Our youngest is now a senior at Edwardsville High School. I am proud to have my kids educated by the great faculty and staff of District 7. As a parent of 4 children in this district, I have been engaged in many different aspects, from early childhood education to AP classes, to performing arts, to athletics. I have a long history of citizen involvement vested in this school district. I have volunteered as a past president of the PTO, a member of the Citizens Advisory Council. I have been a PSR teacher at St. Cecilia's Church in Glen Carbon. I have been involved in Special Olympics activities, various advocacy groups for students and adults with disabilities, high school booster clubs, and League of Women Voters activities. I was also chair of the referendum committee that was responsible for the addition of Liberty Middle School. I am an educator. I received the Emerson Excellence in Teaching Award. I'm an assistant principal at Whiteside Middle School in Belleville, Illinois. I am an advocate for public education. Our democracy is totally dependent upon what takes place in our public education classrooms. I have the best and most fulfilling job in the world. Every day I get to run a building full of 600 middle school kids, and I love being involved in public education. I take my advocacy very seriously every day. I am also fortunate to serve on one of the most important elected positions, school board. I am running for re-election again because I have worked to make a positive difference for our students, employees, and community. We have been nationally recognized by such publications as Money Magazine and Business Insider. I am proud of the work that I have done, but I know there remains many challenges for this board and this community. I have demonstrated that I have the experience and knowledge to get the job done. I like to talk a lot too.
Our next candidate is Jill Bertels.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank all the attendees this evening, as well as the League for putting on this event. My husband and I are lifelong residents of our Edwardsville School District. Our three sons graduated from District 7, and we now have two granddaughters that are going through, walking down the same halls that my husband and I did. We own and operate a grain farm in Dorsey. I have a retail greenhouse as well. So both of these are requiring me to perform some excellent money management and strong decision-making skills. I have to make similar decisions when I'm on the school board. Throughout these decision-making process, I have often shown steady leadership and kept our students' interest a priority. I'm presently the board president, and I am also a member and a chairperson for the Finance Committee and various other committees. I'm a member of the FFA alumni for our District 7. That group supports our FFA students and their many activities. We award scholarships to the seniors who are continuing their education. I also support the EHS Drama Club and the Edwardsville Arts Center, as well as a member of the Greater Edwardsville Area Foundation. As a board member, I am elected to look out for the taxpayers' dollars. But there are also personal factors that come into play when you have to make such decisions. Some of these might be your student educational options or your employees' careers. I listen to varying opinions from many voices. They range from the administrators, teachers, parents, students, and other community members. I consider all the sides and listen to all the arguments and then make the vote that is in the best interest of our students from District 7. So I'm running for re-election for this board because I love this district. I've been here my whole life, and I'd like to see it continue to be improving and to be a great place to live, work, and educate our children. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate is Lucas Siron.
Hi, I'm Lucas Siron. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, everybody else who's following along with that trend, and posting the event tonight and giving each of us the opportunity to share our ideas and our vision with the school district, or about the school district. One thing I've really enjoyed is that as the campaign has picked up, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, get around our school district, knock on some doors, and really see the passion that we all experience and we all know and see within our district every day. My wife and I have lived in the district for 10 plus years, and we knew that there was nowhere else that we wanted to start our family. I have two young children in LeClaire Elementary right now, and one more that will be coming up in a few years. And there's nothing more important to me than my children's education and the future of this district. I'm an engineer by trade, and through my job as an integrator, I work with people from a lot of backgrounds. I work with financing, our business operations, manufacturing sides, quality, and engineering. Through that as well, I'm looking at ways to improve my job and improve the process that we work with every day. I'm looking for ways to be adaptable and to see that the past solutions that we have are not always the best answers for new challenges. We always have to be adapting and looking for the new and creative ways to address today's problems. You have to keep a mindset of innovation and adaptability and always be looking towards the future. There's a lot of talent and commitment within our community, and when given the proper voice, we can take a lot of challenges head on. We just need to make sure that everybody has their place at the table, and we're listening to those and embracing those ideas. Through those discussions, respectful and sometimes in disagreement, as long as it remains respectful, that we can always lead to great ideas and great ways to take on those challenges. So I look forward to sharing more of my thoughts tonight with everyone here. I appreciate everybody taking the time to come out and listen to us tonight. Thank you.
I'm going to address the questions to allow each person to have an opportunity to speak first. So I'm going to address the first question, starting with Greg Roosevelt. We'll go down the table and finish with Terri Dalla Riva. And we'll keep working our way down that way. So, asking Greg Roosevelt, with the financial crisis in the state and the district long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district? Raise taxes or other ways to increase funding?
Thank you. This is a key question, and certainly one which the Board of Education has given a lot of thought. I was chair of the Finance Committee in 2008, 2009, when the economy tanked and the world changed from a finance perspective for local governments and for school districts. We immediately adjusted our 3-year plan at that point, began rationalizing our costs, reducing those where at all possible. In the intervening 5-6 years, we've continued that process, reducing expenditures and enhancing revenues by approximately $12 million. This has enabled us to keep teachers in the classroom. You may hear about, I know the opposing candidates have spoken in their podcast about a criticism of our adjusting the middle school model, for instance. The teachers and us collaboratively negotiated a change. Instead of 2 prep hours for teachers, we ended up having 1. And this change was made 3 years ago to the middle school, and it saved us $500,000. What we're seeing are difficult decisions must be made. The outcome for our students since has been excellent. The participation rates, we have set up a mechanism for our students at that level to have opportunities for orientation. It's worked exceedingly well. It's enabled us to keep 15 teachers in the classroom. We do have struggles. We are managing them by enhancing revenues and reducing costs wherever possible. Looking forward, our plan is simply to continue that focus and discipline. We'll know a great deal more. Governor Rauner has proposed a $300 million increase for funding for this budget year. By June 30, we're going to have an exact, precise knowledge of where we're going to stand in the coming budget years with this governor and how public education funding is going to look. At this point, we're going to start looking at decision-making, further decision-making on where we stand from a fiscal perspective. Thank you.
Next, I'll ask Paul Pitts the same question. With the financial crisis in the state and the district long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district, raise taxes, or other ways to increase funding?
Well, one thing we want to do is consider raising taxes at this time. I think we'll continue to look at our operations and where the places where we can save. We will have a discussion with the administration, with the faculty, with the staff, and get input from the community as to where we can save, given the financial crisis, is how we can overcome some of the crises that we are facing.
The question now goes to Vince Ojeda. With the financial crisis in the state and the district long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district, raise taxes, or other ways to increase funding?
It's a great question. As we get out on the campaign trail and canvass for votes and talk to people in coffee shops and everywhere else we can talk to people, this is probably the biggest question that I get regarding the financial crisis and what it's done to our district. I believe that we have a lot more control of our destiny than what's been let on. 78% of the revenues that go to the school district come from local property taxes. Most of that's residential, some of it's commercial. Only about 17% of our funding comes from the state, and the other 5% comes from the federal government. So yes, the state has had some issues and hasn't made payments, and we've been behind the 8 ball because the state's been behind the 8 ball. That being said, it's already been alluded to that there's a potential of $300 million more coming into education from the state level. I think the experts that I've spoken with, just in terms of doing my own research, has shown, or they've said that we really need about $500 million from the state to catch up. If we get $300 million, it's a good start. The bottom line is we have the lowest tax rate for the schools in the area. It's about 4.17%. We've maxed out our education fund levy at $2.15 for assessed values. And what that means is we're kind of tapped out. We're going to have to look at ways that are creative, and we're going to have to engage the stakeholders of this community. We have experts who want to be involved and who have come to me through email and face-to-face visits, sharing information. And we need to be able to look at that. We need to rely on some of the expertise in our community and take into account what they think and some of their ideas. There are some really creative solutions out there that I've heard that we haven't heard from the current board. I'll leave it with that.
Question next to Monica Laurent. With the financial crisis in the state, the district, long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district, raise taxes, or other ways to increase funding?
Okay, this is a good question. In the past 7 years, this has been something that we have done on a daily basis. This is an issue that we discuss at every school board meeting. We study and we research it, and we have a 3-year plan for this. In the past 7 years, we have made tough decisions, and sometimes they were very unpopular, but we always did what was best for the students and best for the district. We have used over $11 million of our cash reserves during the past 7 years. We have reduced expenditures by $12 million. We have some options on the table for us that are available right now. Number one, continue to investigate refinancing, as we have done in the past. We've been very proactive with this. Number two, borrowing is an option. Number three, cuts to programs and our staff. Number four, going to the voters and asking for the tax increase. In the past 20 years that I have been involved in this district, when it was time to go to the voters and ask for this tax increase, I have been very, very involved in all those referendum committees. And and it doesn't have to be just a one solution for any of this. There can be a combination of any of this. And when we start for the year 2015-16, we know that we will start with $4 million in our cash reserves. But this will be a very, very serious time, and you will want continued leadership on this board in order to address those concerns as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the question goes to Jill Bertels. With the financial crisis in the state and the district, long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district, raise taxes, or other ways to increase funding?
Thank you very much. I believe that we have been facing this problem, as Monica said, for the past several years, and we have proven ourselves that we have realized what it's going to take to make the budget balanced. We've done a combination of different things. We have refinanced, as well as we had our 3-year plan that we update on a regular basis. The $9 million of debt that are of bonds that we sold, that was an intention of a 3-year fix, and that was brought out in many of our meetings, that it's not a long-term solution. It's going to hopefully get us through until the state has been able to stabilize their situation, and or else we find other ways to increase our revenues, whether it's the EAV going up, increasing, or other options. So it is very difficult to say at this time what we are going to do. We do have our reserves in the bank at this time as bonds, and we will hopefully, as time gets closer to when those cash reserves are being expired, then we can work on seeing what is the needs at that time. It's very tough to pass a referendum. As Monica said, we've worked through these for the past, ever since we've been building buildings, and we have passed referendums for building the buildings, but we have not, to my knowledge, passed a referendum to raise the educational fund. So that's very difficult to encourage the voters to get that passed, and I understand because everyone has got limited income, and we would like to use that as our very last reserve. Thank you.
Now to Lucas Siron, now that he's cooled himself off, the same question. With the financial crisis in the state, the district, long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district, raise taxes, or other ways to increase funding?
Thank you for that. It's a little warm up here, so we should get that out of the way. That's a good question, and one that, especially around 2008, 2009, when the economy went the way it did, all of us started asking a lot of the same questions in our households. How are we going to change what's going out as opposed to what's coming in? because it's not as much as coming in, but I still got debts and I still got to have things that I need to pay for, and I need to provide for my family the same way. We still need to provide a quality education. There's nothing different about that, and we've been able to tread through and be able to get to that. Going through in the future, though, we still have deficits that we have to close in our budget year to year. We have to continue to find new ways to approach that. In my job, it's no different. We're selling a product as well, and we have to look at ways to trim the costs out. In manufacturing, we're still delivering our product. Our product here is an education, and through my job, we have a lean council that I'm a member of, and we look for little ways. We empower all these stakeholders: engineering, finance, business. It doesn't matter what side of the company you come from, but you can think of any small idea that you have, bring it into the council, it gets vetted, people talk about it and see what the best way the application is going to be from that, and then we take that back and put it back into practice. Now sometimes those savings are small, right? Maybe on the $10,000 mark, or maybe even a couple thousand, but if you take a couple thousand out here, you take 100,000 out here, you continue to chink away at it. If you have a $3 to $4 million deficit, you close that down to 1 or 2 million. That's that much less that you're having to cover at the end of the year. And looking into the next year, looking into the future, it's that much less that you're pulling out of your working cash, and you're able to start building up a little bit of savings as you look at that. Now, with the state funding and other aspects coming into that, it's hard to really say what you could do, but you need to first look at the smaller ways, to the creative ideas that are out there that are being left on the table, no matter how small. And then total all that up, see what other savings you can get, and then go back and see where you're at.
All right. Terri Dalla Riva, the same question. With the financial crisis in the state, the district long-term debt, how do you propose to run a quality school district? Raise taxes or other ways to increase funding?
Well, I'd like to touch upon the issue that we have been facing this problem for several years now, and we responded to it by floating working cash bonds. And I'm going to quote a local banker and financial expert. Depleting working cash bonds without incrementally asking the taxpayer to partially support declining state funding has led us to this fiscal cliff. The board didn't consider taxes, not ever. Floating working cash bonds without asking the taxpayer for incremental support has only delayed the fiscal cliff till after the election. This pattern of keeping one of the lowest education tax funds in the area and letting our kids suffer through it with annual cuts is unfair to kids and parents. And don't blame the state. Everyone knew the state wasn't coming back. That was the most predictable variable in the revenue equation. The bonds. I keep going back to the bonds. We're floating bonds to cover a budget deficit. We aren't building schools. We are not expanding facilities. We are just covering our checkbook right now. I think it's not a responsible response to a budget crisis. I'm a parent of 4 children, and I've seen budget crises. I've seen budget cuts over the year, and now we've added debt to that. We should have been given a choice. If we are going to talk about cuts, bonds, and raising taxes, we need to communicate with our parents, our taxpayers, our stakeholders in the community, and we need to open the lines of communication so they can come to us and tell us what they want. Instead of rolling out a big decision like this without consultation. I have a lot more to say about cuts and raising taxes, but I think I'm close to my time.
The next question I will address first to Paul Pitts. As a board member, what will you do to better communicate with constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
That's a good question. I think we all realize that there needs to be improvement in the communication between the board and our constituency. And as a board member, I will encourage our constituency and those who feel that they're not being heard, those who feel that their voice is not being taken into consideration, to contact me personally. We would also encourage you to come to our board meetings. There are several opportunities during the board meetings with any citizen, any constituent, to share his or her concern about the lack of communication. I think we have done a pretty good job at providing communications. As I said, we can do better, but my door is always open. You can call me personally, but I would encourage you to come to our board meetings and to address your concerns before the board.
Okay, the question I'll address now to Vince Ojeda. As a board member, what will you do to better communicate with constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
It's a great question. I'm glad it came up, actually. I think this is an area where there's room for a whole lot of improvement with communication and transparency and engagement and providing information to the community, to the taxpayers, to the parents. I have several ideas on how to improve it. I think the district has done a good job with implementing some social media Facebook pages for the schools and getting some information out that way. That was a really good step forward for the district, I think, and I was fully supportive of that. As far as going to board meetings, I've been to quite a few board meetings, especially recently, and it seems that there's a lot of formality and a lot of motioning and seconding and voting, and then everyone is dismissed. What I would like to see are more open discussions and debate and ideas presented and opinions vetted in front of the community, involving the community, engaging the community, the parents, the taxpayers. That's the only way there's going to be an increased confidence in the school board for Edwardsville School District. I would also recommend streaming the board meetings live over the internet, posting them on a District 7 YouTube channel. I think we need to join open books, post the checkbook online. The board should be accountable for every dollar spent that the taxpayers provide. Right now, we don't know where the dollars are going. We need to have the checkbook online so that people can see where that money's going. Hold us accountable. That's what we should be to you. And part of that is the communication that comes from the board, not only during the meetings, but via announcements and town halls and other avenues, having quarterly open town halls where people can just come up like this with us at a table and ask us questions, challenge us, give us ideas. I think there are going to be some tough decisions ahead, and I don't think the board needs to be doing it alone. We're not the expert on every subject.
For Monica Laurent, the same question. As a board member, what will you do to better communicate with the constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
This is a very good question. First of all, I want to talk about what I have done in the past 20 years. Anytime that I've worked on any school issue, I've always gone door to door and talked to people. Anybody who knows me knows I love going door to door and talking to people and getting input. I can spend all day Saturday and Sunday doing that. When anyone emails me or calls, or if they email me, I prefer, let's have a conversation. Why don't you and I meet? We can meet in person or we can talk over the phone. Because it's not about them getting answers from me, it's also about me having a dialogue with them, trying to understand where they're coming from, and then giving them feedback about where we are right now. And I have always been responsive to people with that. I can give you another example. Anytime I'm out in town, people are always stopping me, asking questions. In fact, my family sometimes will say, don't send mom into the store because it'll take too long because someone will stop and ask her something. I love talking about the school district, and I've always been open to input from the community. I sit on the Citizens Advisory Council. I love this job. I get to, that volunteer job of what I do for as a board member. I get to hear the good things that the school district is doing, and then I get to hear input from all the various people who are at these meetings. Our meetings are open to the public. People can always come and voice a concern or ask a question. And again, I welcome people to email me or call me, and I welcome that conversation. Thank you.
Jill Bertels, I'm going to direct the same question. As a board member, what will you do to better communicate with constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
I think one of the key players in that is community members not necessarily only using the parents or the teachers, but we also need to reach out to the community members, especially if we are going to ask them for a tax increase at whatever point it might come up, because there's so many taxpayers that do not have students in our classrooms. But we also, as long as I've been on the board, there's been 328 board meetings that I could have attended. And I think I've only missed 5 out of that 328. If you don't feel comfortable being at the board meetings and speaking when there's 2 times allowed in each board meeting for questions or answers, you can even come up to any of the board members before or after the meeting, and then you can address, any concerns in that way. You don't need to be up there in a public setting if that doesn't fit your comfort zone. And I think when we make decisions as a board, it is not only the board members that are being consulted. We do talk with the administration, because they are the ones that have seen all of the dollars and where they've all gone. We, as a board, oversee how the dollars get spent, but they are the ones that know where the cuts or where the dollars can be saved, or how we can use our dollars more economically, rather than asking us that we understand the system and this and that, and I agree, but we are not like the teachers or the administrators that are in the classrooms and in the side of the school walls every day of the year. Thanks.
Lucas Siron, as a board member, what will you do to better communicate with constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
I think that's a really, really good question. And one that, being a parent within the district, I constantly am looking for more information. And even the non-parents in the district, as I'm knocking on doors in the past couple weekends, one way that people try to get me to go away, I guess, is to say they don't have kids in the district. Well, my response is, hey, we all pay the same taxes. It doesn't matter whether we have kids in the district. Your voice is no different than my voice. And then we start into a conversation, because then they know that I'm there and I want to listen. There are small things that we can do and we can embrace. The podcast that I've sat down and done, if there are big issues, or even just monthly sitting down and saying, this is where we are as a board, these are the issues that we're discussing, these are some of the things going on within our committee, and get that out there, and we can flow that out, not just through parents' Facebook pages, or through the district Facebook pages, rather, but we can get that out through RiverBender and the Intelligence Center. And there are other options that we have to get those to flow out and get them out to the public as a whole, not just the parents. Some other ways that we can open up, the district has Facebook pages for all of the schools. We could easily have one for the school board and allow people to comment on that, ask questions of us, and it's just one more way that people can get information from us and ask questions of us as a school board. With school board meetings, one thing that's also interesting enough, our school board page says that our boards on the second Monday of the month will be at Woodland, and the other Monday would roll around from schools. As long as I've been going to board meetings, they've mostly been at Woodland. I think that's a great idea, though, and that's a great concept that we should embrace even more, and that we should rove our school board meetings around to different schools, get up to Hamel, get up to Gordon and Midway, and sit down and get in the neighborhoods where those parents are, and where they don't have to drive 20, 30 minutes into Edwardsville, and let them open up and talk to us. Thank you.
For Terri Dalla Riva, now, as a board member, what will you do to better communicate with constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
I might repeat a little bit of what I've heard. I'm sorry about that, but I had some similar ideas on the subject. Facebook seems to be a great way for parents to communicate, and the school district has its own page. I think the school board could maintain its own page too, and supply links to the school board's website, and provide general information on committee meetings and the general meeting as well. The school board needs to make sure that their page is updated. The current page has some outdated information on it, and so we always need to be paying attention to what's the most current information that we can provide for our community. Board Docs is an online application that allows the board to load all pertinent documents online, and for a meeting, and the general public could go and then read all of those pertinent documents. It's a great application. I believe the city of Edwardsville uses it already. The Madison County posts their checkbook online. People have asked me already, how much is that? How much do we make without those high school parking fees? And how much does it cost to pave that parking lot? Those are some really nitpicky kind of finely detailed, not nitpicky, but finely detailed questions that people are curious about. They want to know the answers to. I want to know the answers to as well. And those are things that, you know, when people have information, then they're not, then they're informed and they're satisfied. When information is withheld, they become frustrated and irritated, and so they ask questions like that in order to really access some great information. And you know, that's what the communication as school board members is all about, is making sure that our voters are really well informed. I'm going to stop.
Greg Roosevelt, as a board member, what will you do to better communicate with constituents, taxpayers, and parents as you seek solutions and establish priorities during these tough financial times?
Thank you. As a board member, I serve at the voter's pleasure. I think it is important for us to hear input from the community. I know in the instance that we were doing a transportation adjustment, we appointed a committee of experts, including people from SIUE, people from private business that did transport. We had parents, faculty members, a broad spectrum of committee members working together to develop a plan. And then those plans were brought to the Board of Education. That's the model going forward that I think we need to replicate in important decisions that we face. So I think as we look at the finance issue, that kind of model is one we'll utilize certainly going forward. Particularly after we see the governor's budget on June 30th, we'll need to implement a concerted effort by the community as a whole to look at our options and see where we can go. The true fact is at any board meeting, at the beginning, we ask for public comment. At the end of the meeting, we ask for public questions. Very seldom does anyone avail themselves of that opportunity. It's welcome. We want you there. We want to hear it from you. On our website, you can see my email address. My phone number is listed. I'm accessible. I'm available to hear from you. I think too often we get involved in our Facebook pages and our conversations in that route, but we don't engage. When I took office this summer, I spoke to a group at the board meeting. I said, engage us. Come to us, because it's real easy to sit there on a computer and comment and negative and not contribute. I think that works both ways, but again, I'm saying communication is key. Our Citizens Advisory Council has plenty of openings for people that want to get involved. Historically, it's an excellent way for people to study an issue, contribute to our technology program, make recommendations to the Board of Education, get involved, join CAC, come to our meetings, call me, email me, let's do business in the public interest. We are not hiding any financial data. I want to make that clear. It's public, it's open to everyone. Thank you.
Now, for the third question, I'll begin with Vince Ojeda. What have you done or proposed to do to keep class size at reasonable current levels?
Another great question, whoever submitted that, thank you. I'm obviously not on the board now, so there's nothing I have done to keep class sizes at the current levels. When you look at the enrollment in Edwardsville over the last 5 years, it's been relatively flat. It goes between 7,400 and some odd and 7,600 and some odd kids. So predicting class size really shouldn't be a big challenge, although as a parent, and from a lot of the conversations I've had with other parents, it's become a challenge. And the reason it's become a challenge is because the school board and the administration have looked repeatedly at class size. As a matter of fact, there was almost a teacher strike a few years ago over class size. And the teachers had their agenda. I think they had the kids' best interest at heart. by limiting the proposed increase in class size for various grade levels. It took a lot of parents and concerned citizens to get involved, oddly enough, with a Facebook page to prevent the school board and the administration from putting the teachers into a corner and being able to raise class sizes to whatever level they felt necessary. So this is a big topic. I think it should be one of the more predictable things that we can handle. Again, it all goes to communication and transparency. If the board is engaged with teachers and with parents, with administrators at the schools, with taxpayers that may or may not have kids in the district, listening to input from all of the stakeholders and all of the taxpayers, that's where we're going to get the best information from the community. And that needs to change. That's something when I'm elected to the school board that I'm going to focus on every day, is getting better communication, getting information out to people, and protecting our kids with limited class size.
Monica Laurent, what have you done or proposed to do to keep class size at reasonable current levels?
Again, another good question. First of all, we do have to follow the teacher contract and what's in there. We have always done that, obviously. Despite a 7-year financial crisis at the state and national level, and reducing our operating budget by $12 million, using $9 million in cash reserves, this Board of Education has continued to make class size a priority. I can go over the current class sizes that we have right now. In kindergarten, first and second grade, we have 20 to 22 students. Third grade, 23 to 24. Fourth to fifth grade, 25 to 26. Middle school, 28 to 30. And high school, 27 to 31. I will continue to make class size a priority as we move forward, as we have always done in the past. But I want to stress something else that's even more important than class size, and that's having a quality teacher in every classroom. Research shows that that is what makes a difference in classroom instruction, and then making sure that you have a quality administrator in that building who can lead. So to answer that question, I will continue to make class size a priority because this is also a financial question. We will continue to have smart finances that places as a priority. Thank you.
For Jill Bertels, what have you done or proposed to do to keep class size at reasonable current levels?
Thank you. Class size is very important, and we do have a stable enrollment throughout the district, but there is a reason why we hold kindergarten registration early. We ask the middle school and high school kids to sign up for classes at an early time in a calendar year for the following year, because we as a district are trying to decide how many teachers are we going to need and at what level and in what buildings, because even though our population of our students have been stable, there's a lot of movement throughout the district, and the principals have to get on the phone if they confirm if or where students will be placed the next year. If they've heard that there's going to be movement throughout the buildings, then they need to be adjusted throughout. And we made it a priority that it was very important if there was classes that needed to be split because of enrollment numbers by the first of the second semester. There was a new plan put into place this year to add a new teacher at that level, but it would be put throughout that whole classroom, or the whole class level. Instead of giving them a separate room, we engaged with the teachers, and this did happen in our buildings, and it worked successfully. I've been told that there's been good camaraderie with the new teachers coming in, dividing her time between the existing classrooms of that same grade level, and that way we did not disturb the students. Everyone stayed in the same classes, but they did have the extra teacher to have the extra teaching time in each classroom. So, thank you.
For Lucas Siron, what have you done or proposed to do to keep class size at reasonable current levels?
I can talk about what I'd like to do, obviously because I haven't been on board to do it, but one of the things that I think we can do to really get out there is get in the classroom as board members. The reason why we continue to excel as a district is because of our quality teachers. As Ms. Lawrence said, we have some really engaged and really quality teachers that come in and really want to work with the students and really want to help. we need to make sure that we're supporting them and that we're backing them up on that. The district survives off of the teachers. They are the tools that deliver the education, and like any good machine, we need to make sure that we are taking care of our tools the right way and that we're supporting them the right way. Class size is definitely one of those things, and it's a high priority, especially to me. I have a long way to go with my children in the district, and that's something that is extremely important to me as a parent. Since those decisions and that education is coming in the classroom, I as a board member need to get into the classroom and need to know what's going on, talk to the teachers, talk to them about what's going on every single day in the trenches, so to speak, and see what can I do to help them, what decisions can I make better, or what ideas do they have that they can share across the district. As a teacher up in Midway doing something really fantastic that we need to share down across the rest of the district, that even though we might be maxed out on a class size per the contract, we still sometimes can spread teachers thin, and if they're doing things that get them by, we need to make sure that we're getting those ideas flowed throughout the district. And the best way for me to do that is to visit each school, staff meetings, visit the classrooms, talk to the kids, talk to the teachers, and continue to support them strongly. Thank you.
For Terri Dalla Riva, what have you done or proposed to do to keep class size at reasonable current levels?
Well, I would like to talk a little bit about studies that show that learning is 50% social emotional and then 50% cognitive. So what that means is that environment in any kind of learning situation is very important for a child to progress academically. A child needs to feel comfortable and the focus of the teacher's attention, and the lack of focus upon the individual student often jeopardizes the child's cognitive development. That being said, I think that we need to address class sizes. My daughter has 32 students in her language arts class. She's a 7th grader at Lincoln. I think that's too many students in a class. I've talked to another teacher over at Liberty, and he too has around 30 students in every single one of his classes. Those are huge classes for middle school students. I also spoke to a teacher recently, and she said there are ways to tweak the team concept, that middle school concept, without having to increase funding towards it. And she said that there were 4 fights in the cafeteria this year, and that is one of those things that she attributes to a lack of social structure at the middle school level. Social structure is so important to children. It is 50% of their learning environment. And like I said, the other 50% is cognitive. And those are some of the things that we need to pay serious attention to.
Thank you. Greg Roosevelt, what have you done or proposed to do to keep the class size at reasonable current levels?
We have maintained class size at such reasonable levels, and they are good class sizes, and they've been driven by the fact that we have the ability to hire educators at this point. They're the linchpin and the key to our success. We're recognizing that. We've done it by making those tough financial decisions, and I want to talk about some of them. They include the middle school concept, which contractually was agreed to by the teachers to reduce the number of planning periods from 2 to 1 to save $500,000 and to put 15 teachers at least into the classroom. Reconfiguring our transportation system with a study broad-based across the community with parent involvement and experts involvement that have saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars annually, again enabling us to move those funds to the education fund to hire teachers. Taking our funds, a decision I made on our after-school program, rather than partnering with another community organization, we took that in-house. That meant revenue enhancement for us of $500,000 to $800,000 a year. Again, suddenly money starts adding up to significant amounts, which enables you to keep those teachers employed, has enabled us to ensure lower class size than we otherwise would have been able to do. It's our charge and our mission to find a way as a community to continue to fund our school appropriately so that we can keep those class sizes exactly where they are at a good rate and improve upon where we are going forward. We want success among all our students. We want to support and back our professional educators who are some of the best in the business in this school district. And that's my goal as a board member. That's what I commit to do. And that's what, if I'm elected, I will continue to do based upon my track record of fiscal discipline, being able to work with the community to solve problems and keep our district moving forward.
To Paul Pitts, the same question. What have you done or proposed to do to keep class size at reasonable current levels?
Well, I've supported the administration in their assessment of our need for class sizes from kindergarten, elementary projections, to coming up with what is adequate class sizes and the amount of teachers that we will need to adequately accommodate the appropriate class sizes. Last semester, I visited several of our schools. I went into the classroom. I seen the class sizes. I seen our teachers working with the students, given the number given the class sizes of the classes that I visited in those particular schools. Learning is taking place. It is adequate. It is a priority. Our students are learning, and that is being shown in our academic success. I support priority classroom, and it will continue to be a priority of mine going into the future.
The next question, I'm going to start with Monica Laurent. Tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classrooms?
This is also a very good question. First of all, we have worked with Dr. Hightower and raised over $1.5 million from donors to implement technology in the 21st century classroom with the interactive whiteboards. We have also worked to begin to partner with our teachers for posting lessons online so that when kids get home they can pull them up on their computer. And we've also started the e-library. I think what's important when you talk about technology, a lot of times in education, people want to jump on the latest fad. But it's important that you research and you find what is the best option for your school district. And because of the size of our school district, we have determined that it's time to move towards a bring your own device at our high school level. Our kids already have them. They all have them. So we raised the levy to increase the bandwidth at our high school level so that we can get that in place. In my opinion, that's more important than going out and trying to do the one-on-one, the Chromebooks. This way, like I said, kids already have these. The most important part of the technology also is professional development. We can't just say everybody's one-to-one or we have this device. There has to be professional development to the teachers. They have to go to workshops and learn from the experts about how to enhance their instruction with technology. I also want to be clear that technology will never replace a high-quality teacher in a classroom. It will only be an enhancement. For my own children, I always wanted a teacher who knew the latest research in reading and math instruction and knew how to assess my children. So let's not get on this bandwagon, and other school districts are doing this, which we never have. We have always researched and make sure that we are doing the best evidence-based practices. Thank you.
Okay, Jill Bertels, tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of the new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classrooms?
Thank you. It is an interesting question because, as we all know, if you buy a computer today, it's outdated tomorrow. So no matter how hard you try to keep up with technology, it's going to be very difficult to keep it up. And I, as a personal note, need to ask my 8-year-old granddaughter how to use my smartphone because I'm never going to be able to figure it out as quickly. I'm afraid to punch all those buttons. And I think that shows what our teachers will do when they have got the smart boards in the rooms They have been trained, as Monica had referred to, and they will enhance the education environment. The kids are eager, they're ready to learn. We need to do our research and figure out what we need to do as a district to make our classrooms easier for the kids to adapt to so they can go and learn to their highest level. We've gotten several Facebook pages, web pages. All of our teachers, I've found out that they have got websites of their own, so that will enhance those teaching abilities. Our CAC committee has given out scholarships to some of our teachers, and that is one of the uses is so they can enhance their classrooms in those regards also. So I think we need to go and take it as a research shows and at a good level of steady pace and not jump in too deep and too fast, because we need to be able to know that our students will be able to use the equipment and our teachers will be able to teach with the equipment that we have given them. Thanks.
Lucas Siron, tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of the new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classrooms?
Technology is a great question, and one that we see and we look at in our houses and in a lot of our own jobs every day. A lot of people that live around here work in St. Louis, and a lot of people work in technological fields. There's a lot of creative ideas and talents out there with technology that have ways that we can embrace that and bring it into our district. You talk about things like the smart boards, and that's great that we were able to go out and get donations and bring that technology into our classrooms. And get out there and teach our teachers, but we want to make sure when we're bringing technology like that in, that we're also talking to the teachers about how they're going to use that day in and day out, and that a kindergarten teacher that has one in her classroom, that it's actually set at the right level for where the students are going to be able to use it. And it's not 5 feet up off the floor or things like that. They're little things like that, but we need to talk to the teachers and really see how they're going to use it when we do the research and decide what we're going to move forward with. Beyond just the district as a whole, the board can embrace that as well, and even our administrators through things like the podcast and Facebook and YouTube. There's a lot of technology out there that we can use a little bit more to get more information out as well. The teachers are using it. We can piggyback on that and use it as well. If our teachers have the good ideas, it kind of goes back to another thing I said before, and that if a teacher has a really good idea at the high school and they're using a piece of technology, especially if we're going to bring your own device, if they're utilizing that in a certain way that's really seeing success in the classroom, we need to make sure that we're spreading that around within the district, and that is getting out there and they're talking to the other teachers and they're showing them, hey, this is what I'm doing, I've been very successful with this, and it's going to get out there and it's going to spread. Again, more information out to everybody just improves the quality of the education that we provide.
To Terri Dalla Riva, tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classrooms?
When we talk of technology, I believe that we fail to anticipate change in a timely manner. We learn of other school districts supplying their students with iPads and tablets to integrate them with whiteboards. Midway's Elementary's PTO raised funds for their own Wi-Fi a few years ago. They raised $7,000, and this past year they raised $7,000 for a computer lab. Even our PTOs are ahead of the process. We need to plan ahead. We need to decide how technology can improve teaching, what technology we need to help our children learn the most effectively, and how we can utilize our time most efficiently in the classroom. We need to decide what specific skills, for example, the link of learning statistics properly with widely used programs like Excel or numbers that can be integrated to enhance knowledge of the subject material and the program. And we need to provide current updates to those programs as well. We can't be using technology from 2003. Also, if you're going to really use technology in the classroom, we need to train the teachers. They need to have access to devices and training as well. I read an article on a calculus teacher that used a screen recording program and a video editing program for the assignment, uploaded it to YouTube for homework, and then used in-class time to work the problems. Those students scored an average of 4.11, 4 and 1100ths out of 5, with a third of the class scoring 5 on the AP exam. And the AP exam, of course, is 5 is the highest score that you can have. And so we've seen a lot of studies that have studied emerging technology as having a positive effect on classroom academics and improvements, and we need to speed up the process.
Greg Roosevelt, tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classroom?
Sure, thank you, Dr. Tompkins. And let's talk about the smart boards or polyvision boards. About a year ago, the Board of Education charged the administration simply because there wasn't funding available for them to raise the money in the community. So we went out to the community in a collaborative partnership and raised in excess of $1 million to equip our classrooms with the smart boards. Thanks to the EGMH Foundation, our own foundation, which raises substantial funds for this district and private businesses and other individuals who want to support our children and our teachers. The outcome is that the teachers began using these. They are trained on them by our curriculum director, Dr. Andre, and that flowed and that increased the usage. It got to the point during this semester that we frankly were running out of bandwidth. We negotiated through our levy for technology, which is a nickel, a financing and lease agreement with Cloverleaf Bank, $1 million upgrade to our system to enable us to handle that increased capacity. This has opened a whole new world to our educators throughout the system with the use of these kinds of tools exactly to teach math. The Discovery Channel, e-streaming, other services that are available. It also means e-library comes into effect with access by our parents and teachers and our students being able to see the lecture notes at home in the evening if they wish and to go over those materials. This is a tremendous asset to our very professional educators who have more than met the challenge of stepping up and using these tools. Where do we go forward from here? We continue to use the CAC, which has been crucial in this technology drive. That's their #1 project. Let's bring them to bear. Let's reach out to community assets and contributors for more efforts in this area. This is a continuing process. We are not behind the 8 ball. We're leading and blazing trails in this area, and we're going to continue to do that to keep our technology at 2015. Thank you.
Paul Pitts, tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classrooms?
Well, I think as many have said before, we have made technology our priority at our school, as was mentioned through the whiteboard, through e-library, through online, and equipping our teachers with some of the latest and the most up-to-date technology as related to the teaching process. I think an important aspect that we must remember, technology has its place in education. We must have a quality, trained, dedicated teacher who can use this technology and pass on those skills and that knowledge to our students. And I think our faculty, our teachers are doing a very good job of it. Do we need some improvement? Of course. But our technology is, like Greg Roosevelt said, we are in the 21st century. I've seen it in the classroom. I was some of the schools I visited last semester. I worked with some of the kids. They showed me some of the stuff, some of the new technology, and I was how to use it. So I've seen it firsthand. Technology is good. It It has its place in the classroom, but it shall not replace our teachers.
Vince Ojeda, tell us about your views on the school district's use of technology. How do we compare with area school districts? What are the roles of new smart boards, digital curriculum, and aging textbooks in our classrooms?
I run a healthcare IT company, basically. We're all about IT infrastructure, networking, bandwidth, all this technology. The word technology has been used up here about 35 times in my last count, so I'm going to talk about textbooks. What's wrong with our textbooks right now? They're old. They're beat up. I was helping my high school senior with his history homework the other night, and two things came up. The modem was considered brand new technology, and Bill Clinton was still our president. There's a problem there. So what I would like to see the teachers and the board focus on is how to enhance old textbooks. How do we get online resources? How do we utilize free information out there like Khan Academy and YouTube and some of the other things that are available right now? Teachers want to be able to teach to this. They want to be able to utilize that as an additional source of information for the kids, and I think that's a good thing. We talk a lot about EGHM, which was just brought up a few comments ago, and the things that the foundation has done for the district, and there's no doubt. I've worked with EGHM. My wife and I have donated a lot of money to this district through EGHM. What about setting up a boosters for books? Why don't we get the community involved in raising money so that we don't have to go to the taxpayers every time we need more funding, and get some money for some new books for these schools and for these kids? That's what I think would be a great idea. I'm not saying we have to do it. I'm saying it's an idea that's been presented to me. A 501c3 foundation that's online. Grandpa in Florida can donate $100 to his granddaughter's teacher's class for art supplies. Those are the ideas that have been floated with me, and those are the things that I'm open to. And I think as a board member, I would be open to a lot more ideas like that, and I know there's a lot more out there like it.
For the next question, I'd like to begin with Joe Bertels. For all of us who remember the summer of 2012 and the breakdown in negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
Thank you very much. That was a very time that was full of tension. There were a lot of different sides to it, and there were a lot of people that were caught in the middle. As we went through the negotiation process, we've had discussions with administrators and the school board members, how the negotiations, what we've got in our bank or in our budget to allocate for teachers and things. And that is how our communication goes, that we can communicate with our administrators and then they communicate at the table. So we did our best, and the negotiations didn't go naturally as smoothly as they had always gone in the past. We negotiated numerous contracts, and we've never had that much tension in the recent past anyway. So we will try, when it's time to go through negotiations, that we will work with our teachers and work with the other unions that we're also negotiating with, and try to make them go more smoothly as we go through the negotiation process in the near future.
Lucas Siron, for all of us who remember the summer of 2012 and the breakdown in negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
That is a really good question, and one I'm very happy to answer. I remember that quite vividly. My wife is a former educator with this district, and was so at that time when we were going into the strike, or potential strike. So that's one that really literally hit home for me. you know, one of the things that I think as a future board member that we can do a little better about it is be at that table in negotiations. But it's not always about being at the table during negotiations. It's about the things that you do between negotiations, between the contract years. And as I go back to one of the things I said earlier, going into the classroom and visiting the teachers and going to the staff meetings and making sure that teachers are welcome at board meetings and welcome at committee meetings and their input is being valued, and that we trust their opinions and we trust what they're doing every day. We trust what the administrators are doing every day. You know, the same goes with the administrators, that we're talking to them on a frequent basis and that we're highly engaged in what is going on in the classrooms, so that when we go into a negotiation, there's no question in the teacher's mind about where the district is and where we are and what decisions we have to face as a board. And so they know where we're coming from better. We know where they're coming from, because between the last negotiation and now, we've talked to them frequently. We know exactly what they want, exactly what they want to get out of that, what they're trying to keep strong within their contract, and where they're willing to give a little bit, where we're willing to give a little bit, and we're all at the table, and it goes a lot smoother. And in any negotiation I've been involved in through my job, or when I sat down and talked to government customers, that's what you need to keep in mind. It's not about what goes on at that table at that time. It's about the relationship that you develop and the strength that you have before you have to come into that table. When I talk to my government customer, I'm talking to them on a frequent basis. They know exactly where I'm coming from. I know what their needs, their concerns are. And when we go into a room and we have to come out with a decision, it's a lot easier and a lot less painful for everybody involved.
Terri Dalla Riva. For all of us who remember the summer of 2012 and the breakdown in negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
Well, as a realtor, every successful transaction ends up with a signed contract and a negotiation process. It's something that we do all the time. It involves a fact-gathering mission, and with an open, positive attitude that we are going to come to some agreement. That's an essential component of what we do, being positive and knowing what the facts of the situation are. Knowledge is always a good thing. Information is always a good thing. And the more armed that you are with the knowledge of what both sides want, the more able you are to negotiate a resolution. As a school board member, I will represent the best interests of the children. As a negotiator, I'm always looking toward what the specifics of those best interests are. Classroom sizes, for example, are very important to us. At that point, then we look towards the community and we look to the administration, and we try to come to terms with and find some middle ground and hopefully resolve the differences to come to some kind of common ground that we all can agree upon.
Greg Roosevelt. For all of us who remember this summer of 2012 and the breakdown in negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
Okay, thank you. When I applied to the board, what I really emphasized in my statements to the public is that outreach and bridging was a key idea, a concept is where I would go. I met with the Teachers Association at a reception then in the fall that I attended. It's really useful in a dialogue with their leadership, starting a dialogue, getting ideas back and forth. I also presented to them in a recent interview with them a couple of weeks ago, talking about the need for us to partner in terms of problem solving with finances in this district. And it really does entail just that. I've been in a model of the negotiations where I was a lead negotiator for the district. That was about 8 years ago. There are a couple people here in the Teachers Association that were involved in those. Literally a 24-hour session that started on Saturday morning and went to Sunday morning without stop with the federal mediator. We were able to bridge gaps. We were able to get it done. In 2012, those were contentious negotiations. At the end of the day, they were successfully concluded, just as has been described here, by a contract. It called for a freeze, it called for a 2% increase in the second year. That's tough. It's very difficult from all perspectives if we are limited in our funds, but I have pledged to the community and to you that dialogue will continue. I think in the future in the negotiations, I would prefer to be at the table. I think it's helpful to be there. I think you're hearing both perspectives. Bottom line, I have to act in the entire district's best interest. I have to act in the children's best interest. Sometimes I can converge and I can agree with the Teachers Association. There are instances where we have to give and take. And I encourage that dialogue with them. And again, I say to you that my approach will be the one I announced last summer when I resumed the board. Bridging, collaborating, and open to problem solve together. Thank you.
Paul Pitts, for all of us who remember the summer of 2012 and the breakdown in negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
Well, if we recall, you know, there were serious aspects of the negotiation in 2012 that will probably not be an aspect of upcoming negotiations. As a retired employee of SIUE, where we had over 12 unions and dealt with negotiations, one of the best ways is to establish a working relationship. Negotiation by itself is a tension. There's going to be some conflict because decisions have to be made and agreed upon by both sides, and there may not always be an agreement. Yes, if you run a company, you're in charge. Mr. Ojeda says he runs the company. He's in charge. He can make decisions on his own without any input or any impact from anyone else. We, as the board, we work for you. What decisions we make are subject to the public. If Mr. Ojeda wants to raise, if he says he's a businessman and he's in a financial situation, he can raise prices and pass it on to his consumer. I cannot on my own raise taxes to deal with the financial situation we have here. Negotiations are important. Communicating and working with the union to come up with a workable contract, I will do that. And I think as Mr. Roosevelt said, after all the contention in 2012, we did come up with a workable solution.
Vince Ojeda, for all of us who remember the spring of 2012 and the breakdown in the negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
That was a really interesting time for me. I'm not a politician. I did not expect to become involved in helping teachers and the board negotiate as a parent and as a citizen. To be honest with you, I was golfing. And I got a phone call that said, can you meet with someone, Channel 4's here, they want to interview a dad. That's how I got involved, and that's why I'm sitting here today. Once I decided to get involved, I saw that there's a lot lacking in the type of communication and the type of engagement that the current board has with not only the teacher, but the community as a whole. So what I believe is that through constant engagement, communication, learning about each other, you know, the EEA and the teachers need to understand the board is in a position as well with a budget. There's X amount of revenue coming in, and we're going to have to do with it what we can. But having a mutual understanding and having a mutual, basic understanding of the money that's there, the decisions that have to be made, goes a long way when you do get to the table. As a board member, I will be at that table. I will be helping with that negotiation as much as I can. And I think it's important because I'm going to be an engaged board member. I'm going to understand a lot of various stakeholders' opinions and needs. And I'm not going to rely on the school district attorney to sit at the table and speak for me and for my constituents. And I think that's a big difference from what I'm going to bring to the table.
Monica Laurent, for all of us who remember the summer of 2012 and the breakdown in negotiations between teachers and administrators, how can we prevent history from repeating itself?
Okay, thank you. Again, that time in 2012 was a very, very contentious, stressful time for our school district. I can tell you that I certainly don't want to repeat that process, and no one else does either. So that's why last year we had a very good amicable process when we negotiated the teacher's contract. And I also want to add that in the last 12 years, we have negotiated many contracts, not just teaching contracts, but also our contracts with our custodians and with our secretarial staff. I think the lesson that I learned from all of this is, again, as some other people have said, we have to be proactive in the beginning with relationships. I also have to be that way in my job, because as an administrator, I'm also involved in negotiations. We have to be involved at all times and at the table and members of that process. Again, nobody wants to repeat that process again. I think we're working really hard to make sure that we never go down that path again. Thank you.
The next question will begin with Lucas Siron. What have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee there's any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
That's another really good question, like a lot of these questions tonight, and one that, again, as parents, we all think about every day. Our kids spend a good portion of their day in the schools, and one thing we don't want to worry about is their safety. I can't speak to what I have done, as I'm not a city board member, but I can talk about the things that I would like to see done or continue to do as a board member. We have a very engaged community, as we all know, and very engaged teachers, but we also have very willing public servants that are also out there in fire and police departments, and we should be continuously reaching out to them. I know that we do, but we need to also do that a little bit more frequently and continue to bring in and talk to our teachers, and as they're learning new tools to do their job and to do their job within the school, especially on the police department, as they learn new ways to keep us safe both in the schools and out of the schools as social media takes off. And cybersecurity is also a very top concern that we are educating our teachers, making sure that they know ways to keep us safe, or keep our children safe, what the police department and fire departments are going to do to keep us safe in physical worlds, and then also that they have the tools to make sure that they're supporting the kids every day in social media and through other things like bullying, and that we're giving them the right resources to combat against that every day. When kids walk out of that school, safety concerns don't always end there. Just to talk about the cybersecurity a little bit, that's something that's forefront in my job every day, and one that we need to make sure that we're focusing on with our kids, so that when they go home, that bullying that happens in the school doesn't continue to happen at home, that teachers can work on that and give the parents the resources to continue to fight against that. Safety doesn't just mean physical safety all the time. Thank you.
Terri Dalla Riva, what have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
That's a great question. It's something that I would definitely need to do more research on, because I don't have a lot of knowledge of what I would do in the future to protect the safety of the school, to the safety of our children. I think we do an excellent job right now with taking care of our children and the security system that we have in place. I would like to, like I said, to explore that issue a little bit better. I think Lucas had some really great statements and advice, and as I said, this would be a really great situation for me to learn more about and then share it with the people with our community.
Thank you. Greg Roosevelt, what have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
Thank you. The morning of the Newtown shooting, for me and all of us, I know it's traumatic and dramatic. I went home for lunch and was watching the news coverage of the event, thinking of those children and their families, and having lost a child in an accident. You do not imagine that coming your direction ever, that could happen to you and your family. But it can, and it does. That afternoon I called Ed and I said, what are we doing? What do we need to do? Let's get together in terms of the study, whatever. We got to do something. So he was certainly more composed about than I was, and put together, with our collaboration, a study group, including a retired Secret Service agent who lives in town, Jack Fox. Jack subs in the district, FBI, law enforcement, sheriff, police, multiple meetings I attended and was there as we defined and better defined where we need to go with our security plan. The outcome was we have a deputy sheriff at a substation in the northern district to handle those schools. We have an alarm system for egress and ingress so that we can have immediate communication of an event. We have police officers in collaboration with the Edwardsville Police Department in our schools. We also have taken specific steps beyond that, allowing police access to our video system instantly. They get to see in real time what's going on in our schools, and there are other steps that aren't something we readily discuss, and this is under constant review. This is important. Second, Mr. Siron is absolutely right. The second part of this is what have we done in the area of bullying. As chair of the policy committee, I took specific action on bullying to assure no student in our district will be bullied because of their race, their sex, their background, or their sexual preference. This is a community where we respect, regard, and love each other as fellow people, and that's important, and that's as equally important as the physical safety. Thank you.
Paul Pitts, what have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
On the morning of Sandy Hook, like Greg Roosevelt, I called the administration office because I wanted to know the status of the schools throughout our district. And I wanted the administration to review our policies regarding security and safety. Shortly after that, we were able, as Greg Roosevelt said, to negotiate some arrangements with local law enforcement, including the FBI, to ensure that the schools throughout our district are safe. That when you got your child off at the school, or the bus dropped one of your children off at 8 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time they attended school, until the time we pick them up, they were safe. We've done that. Safety is a priority, and school safety will always be a priority. For the future, we will continue to monitor the current situation, and where there's a need for improvement, we will see that that happens, and I guarantee you this regardless of the cost. The safety of our faculty and staff, visitors to our campuses and schools throughout the district are important, and it is a priority that will always be under assessment, and improvement will be in place when and where needed.
Vince Ojeda, what have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
This is an area that I think our school district has done a very good job with. We've had, the new locks on the doors. We have the video surveillance so that the local law enforcement can tap into and see real time what's going on. So I'm very comfortable with the decisions on safety. I would like to bring up an issue that I think is related to safety and liability And something that a lot of parents have been asking me about, especially recently with the purchase of the church for a parking lot and under the auspices of improving safety for kids at Columbus Elementary, the general concern that I'm hearing is pick up and drop off and improving that process and making sure that there are not schools where second lines of cars form and kids are running between cars to get to the mom or dad who's trying to beat the system, if you will. So I think that's something that the school board can talk about and engage the community on a little bit more, especially when it comes to those individual scenarios at different schools. It is a safety issue when you have cars speeding through the lots and things like that. Maybe beef up security on that end. Other than that, I really think this is an area that we've fared well as a school district.
Monica, Lauren, what have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
Well, this is a very important topic because safety has to be our #1 priority in our schools. With the hierarchy of needs, if we are not making sure that our children feel safe in their classrooms, they will not learn. We have to first create a climate and a culture in our schools of tolerance and respect for all people at all levels. And that means creating our anti-bullying program and carrying that through in our curriculum and in how our adults lead in the building. We have to teach our kids what bullying is, how to identify it, and how not to be a bystander. We also have to make sure that with our anti-bully program, we have a team in place in each school that can identify students who may be going through a difficult or challenging time in their life to help them with this process. We have supported 10 social workers in our buildings, 12 psychologists, 7 counselors, and 13 school nurses. This is something that we're going to have to continually look at as we move forward. Do we need to add more support in this area? I am very proud of a lot of the safety improvements that we have made. New classroom door locks, panic or duress alarms, surveillance cameras. People have to check in, show their ID. They meet with a school safety officer first before they go into the building. I'm very proud of our agreement with the police departments, with our SRO officers. I think it's great when I get to go to community events like Bonifest or Glenfest, and I'm watching our SRO officers out there, and they know the names of our students, and they know them. That is building relationships, and that's contributing to the safety of our buildings. We have been in collaboration with Madison County Sheriff's Department to place a part-time officer at Hamel, Midway, and Warden Elementary Schools. Again, our intergovernmental agreement with the Edwardsville police officers, the controlled access to schools. Safety is always going to have to be something that we continually assess in our buildings and make sure that we are doing our part to make sure our schools are safe. Thank you.
Jill Bertels, what have you done or proposed to do as a board member to assure schools in the district are safe? Do you foresee any future revisions to the current safety precautions?
Thank you. As I was the head of the facilities committee when Goshen and Caston's buildings were being built, as well as other buildings being improved, one of the suggestions that the administration took very seriously was the access points of those new buildings that were being built, as well as the buildings that have been were existing and were being improved. At Midway Elementary, for example, and at Glen Carbon, it was very difficult that when you walked in the door, there was a lot of accessibility to the classrooms, and it was very difficult to figure out how we could make adjustments to keep the visitors in a secured area or an area that there were no students allowed to interact until they'd gone through a checkpoint. So we have been concerned about safety when we were building those buildings. That obviously it's been very took to the next level as we had the experiences on a national level. But we have been very proactive, and with all the improvements that have been mentioned earlier in these questions or answers, it seems like that we have done a very good job. Thanks.
Thank you. Now I would like to give each candidate 2 minutes to wrap up anything, clarify anything that they feel has been left unclear, and finish. I'm going to begin with you, Terri Dalla Riva.
During the economic turbulence and aftermath of 2008, we had $7.8 million in our working cash fund. The board has reacted to the depletion of our savings account by issuing $9 million in bonds without allowing us to make a decision in the matter. We have essentially spent our savings and borrowed ourselves to the position that we can no longer support any more debt without making some grave decisions. Though clearly the board and the superintendent know what the options are, our community has once again been kept in the dark, a strategic move by the incumbents. We have not been presented with a choice. The current board has breached our trust in them to take care of this financial issue in a way that allows us to be part of the decision-making process. At the end of the year, we will have spent $16.8 million total in working cash funds just to keep our schools afloat. We can no longer continue to ask the taxpayer to cover the budget in this manner. We will reach our debt capacity without any new needed facilities to show for it. Our kids are being bused over to the Nelson campus at Lewis and Clark Community College, and they started that when my daughter was a sophomore in high school, and that was 7 years ago. We know the state has been in a budget crisis for several years. We are long overdue in bringing our own budget to the discussion table. We know that the current board doesn't like the discussion table based on the district employee contract negotiations. We know that the current board, school board, does not like to listen to the voters. They appointed without question or input a candidate that had been voted out of office, not by accident, but by intent. As a board member, I'm going to communicate and address our problems, not just financial, but beyond that, in academics, as our community seeks to improve the best education for our children. I am a parent of 2 medical students, of an FAA certified pilot, of a 7th grader. I'm a volunteer, I'm a realtor, and an investor in education. I have joined with Lucas Siron and Vince Ojeda today to represent the interests of our children. Leland Olson is right. It's all about the kids.
Greg Roosevelt.
Thank you. The fact is that I've run before and probably garnered 15,000 to 16,000 votes at various times in those campaigns. Was reappointed this summer after I applied with others and was interviewed, and I had 3,600 votes in that election. And I put myself to the election, and I presented myself to the voters, and I proudly went to the Board of Education and said, I am qualified, I am ready, it's in my heart, I want to come back, I want to continue to make a difference for our children. And the Board of Education said, welcome back. And here I am tonight, putting myself to the community, to you, with my qualifications and attitudes, and saying, here I am. I had 500 more votes than Mr. Olson in that election. Now, he's on the school board, now I am also. We can look at the votes and we can talk about all of that, all we want. The bottom line is I'm interested, I want to serve. We have worked hard to maintain financial stability following the recession. Our state is last, 50th in its commitment to percentage-wise funding. Our district is even in worse condition because the way funding calculations are made, the average district of the state is 27% funded by the state. In our instance, it's 17%. These are tough times. I hear that the opponents in their podcast are urging a tax rate increase. I understand that's their position. Our position is we take every step possible before going that route. We'll look at the governor's proposal, we'll look at the legislator's budget this summer, we'll evaluate it. We do welcome input from the community. We need input from the community. We want to hear from the community. And we certainly want, before we go to a tax rate increase referendum, to know the community is going to support us, know the groundwork has been laid before that were to happen. At this point, I do not favor it. Will the circumstances dictate it? Will the community come together with my leadership and the leadership of others? That's to be seen. But we are open to that discussion. Thank you.
Paul Pitts.
Again, I appreciate and thank the League of Women Voters for allowing us to come here tonight And you've heard us and you've heard our opponents. I'm proud to have served on the Edwardsville School District for 2 terms. You've heard tonight of the results that we stand by. We believe that we've done the best that we've done the best for our students, for the teachers, and for the voters of our community, in spite of the financial situation. We still remain one of the best academic school districts in the region, and I would say in the country. We've not had any major layoffs. We continue to be recognized nationally as one of the finest school districts in our region. We know it's tough when the dollars are not there like they were in the past. And we've had to make tough decisions, and we stand by those tough decisions, and we think our results have been positive, and if you vote for us, we will continue the positive results that you expect as students, teachers, and voters and parents of District 7.
Vince Ojeda.
We're in a financial crisis in this school district. And if I were one of the incumbents sitting at this table right now, I would not be standing by the results of $128 million in debt and multiple attempts to flip bonds to cover cash. That's not a long-term solution. The long-term solution is to engage our stakeholders and our taxpayers and our community and our teachers and our parents and find out what they think we should do and go from there. We have a real opportunity on April 7th to change things in the Edwardsville School District for the better. I'm running because we have a great district that can be a lot better. We can have more transparency. We can have movements to raise money for new books, better technology, without raising taxes, Mr. Roosevelt. I'm running for school board because there's a lack of transparency and collaboration and communication, and we need to fix that. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a partnership builder through my history in business and in life, I think that I'm the best candidate for this job moving forward. Thank you.
Monica Laurent.
Yes, thank you. I am proud of the work that I and the other incumbents have done as school board members. But there also remains many challenges for this board and this community as we move forward. I have demonstrated that I have the experience, the knowledge, and the expertise that is required to continue navigating this district through tough financial times. I have provided steady leadership and at times have had to make very difficult decisions that I have been able to explain and defend for why I have done what I've done. I can make tough decisions, and I keep this district on course for continued improvement. We have maintained strong academics. We've maintained good class size. We have not experienced major layoffs. We have been good stewards of the taxpayers' money. We have added new technology to our classrooms. Yes, we do have to work on improving our textbooks. And that is something that we are working on every year. We're taking the oldest ones and improving those. We have maintained strong performing arts programs. For example, when I get to go to an all-district concert and I'm looking at the orchestra, it's made up 90% of Edwardsville High School students, because most school districts around here do not have an orchestra program like we have. We have many, many benefits here that a lot of school districts do not have. And that is because of all the work that the taxpayers, teachers, constituents, parents have all worked together. There's been collaboration on this all along. I'm always open for business. Call me. I will be glad to talk with you anytime. I love talking about public education. That's my life. I love doing it. I've been enrolled in classes in SIUE education since 2003 because I enjoy the academic part of this. I love improving public education, and that's what I want to continue. And I do ask for your support on April 7th, and I can guarantee you that I will continue to work hard and listen to constituents and collaborate to make public education better. Thank you.
Jill Bertels.
Yes, I'd like to thank again the women's voters for inviting us this evening. It was referred to earlier as to raise the money for new books. It costs $1 million to do a curriculum study. If we just say, fine, here's some money, let's go buy new books, that doesn't work. It's not that easy because you need to have the teachers going through with the administrators deciding which books to get and how does the curriculum need to be focused. So it's not just as easy as saying, here, let's buy or give you $100 and put it towards the books, because you need to do a study and you need to go through the whole process. Lucas had referred earlier to the school board meetings, and when I was first elected, we did go to different schools, and we rotated to all the elementary schools for our one meeting a month. And it was very difficult for sounds, performance, or, we ended up deciding Woodland was the best uniform school, and it was centrally located. I definitely enjoyed going to the different schools because it gave us to walk up and down the halls to see the things that the kids were doing on that particular week when we would go visit the schools. But technology basically played the game, because at Warden we were in a gym and it was very echoey and just a lot of different things. So yes, it had been tried and it did work, but it takes a long time to get from Glen Carbon to the Warden School or even Midway School, and it just wasn't a favorite thing for the teachers and the students that were recognized for the Do the Right Thing Awards at that particular meeting. I would like to ask you for your vote to elect Greg, Monica, Paul, and myself to be reelected for this. We have been the team that has formed the District 7 staff that have taught the teachers that have taught your children, and we would appreciate your vote on April 7th.
Lucas Siron.
I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak with everyone tonight, and for anyone who watches this along the rebroadcast as well. I'm not really going to sit up here and let somebody put words in my mouth about things I did or didn't say, but there isn't anybody sitting at this table right now that's going to advocate for a tax rate increase as a first resort. I think everyone up here, when we walked through that question, said we're going to look at every other option, and if that's what it comes to, that's what it comes to. But that's nowhere that anybody's going to go first out of the gate. We're going to engage with the community, and we're going to talk with the teachers. We're going to talk with the parents. We're going to talk with the people who live up in Holiday Shores and Hamel, who are retired and don't have any kids within the district, who moved here because it was a good place to be. And they liked the community, they liked the sense of partnership that's around here, and they want to be a part of it, whether they have ever had kids in this district or not. Their tax dollar still matters the same as my tax dollar, and their input to where that tax money goes is equally as important as mine. We can focus a lot on the past, and we can continue to look at the past and where it is, but if we only look at the past, we never look at where we're going, and we're going to run right into a wall. And we have to stop ourselves from running into that wall. We got to look towards the future and make sure we are making the right steps today to get there. And no matter what that is, technology, safety, financially, teachers, education, and the whole gambit, we have to take the steps now as a board to get there. And that's where I think myself and Mr. Ojeda and Mrs. Dalla Riva down there can bring that home. We bring in fresh ideas, and we will bring in a new face and re-engage with the community, part of which feels they are disengaged at this point in time. So I really appreciate the time to be here tonight. I thank you all for being here as well and participating, and thank you very much.
I'd like to thank do clap. I want to thank all the candidates for putting themselves forward tonight in a spirit of public service. I'd like to thank our audience, who were very polite. I would like to thank the Wildey, the City of Edwardsville, for allowing us to use it, Al Canal. I'd like to thank my committee personally. I'd like to urge everyone please to vote on April 7th, and to tell you that next week, Monday at 7 o'clock, there is a voter services forum in Glen Carbon for the candidates for the Glen Carbon trustee. Thank you all and good night.